And welcome to Paranormal Versus. I'm the co-host Michael. Kel is unfortunately under the weather, so she will be managing the chat room, so she'll still be with us. She's just working on getting her voice back. But joining us as guest host is Matt. He's back. We're happy to have him back.
Hi.
Hi,
Thanks,
Matt.
Michael. Hi. Hey. Nice to
And
be here.
so, yeah, and we have a really cool guest with us tonight. She is well known in the paranormal community for supporting all of our shows and doing her own thing. And so, without further ado, I am going to let her introduce herself. Nicname.
Hi, everybody. Well, that's how you know me as. Hello, Jojo. Hey, everyone joining. Yeah, so as Michael said, I'm kind of a background type person. My main field of interest is ufology. I'll go into that in a bit. But I do support Andy with his channel. And I do like coming to watch Michael's, his Paranormal Versus. And I'll have to look at repeats for your 3 o'clock in the morning in the UK one. But I do like supporting this field and the way people are getting together through YouTube and supporting each other, actually and collaborating is brilliant. So I think this is a great show to have. It was a great idea of you and Kel to do this, Michael. So thank you for having me on as well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. So do you want me to start with where it all began for me?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. So my first experience is actually as a child. I was about 3 years old, something like that. In a house that we lived in, and I can give you some backstory in a bit. I used to share a room with my brother. He used to be on the top bunk and I was on the bottom bunk. That bedroom actually always seemed cold in there, but I don't know if that was the heat not being on. I'm not quite sure, but I remember waking up in the night and at the foot of the bed was the window with curtains. And I woke up in the night when it was almost pitch black, but I could make out the window, the curtains. I woke up and was staring at the curtain thinking that's going to move in a minute. And that's really strange for a child of that age to sort of think that's going to move, that's going to open, something's going to happen, and to keep staring at the window, waiting for it to happen with this knowing it will open. Nothing happens like that to you normally in life. Hi, Simon. So this was really strange because the curtains were closed, but the corner actually did open, but it didn't. It opened. I can't do it that way around. It opened in instead of like a wind taking it. It was like they showing you something, but there was nothing at all there. So that was super bizarre because I woke up looking at it, staring at it, thinking it's going to open in a minute. And it does it. And you sat there thinking, I don't know what do I do next? And there wasn't any thought to sort of shout for my parents to come or anything. It was bewilderment as well. Like, wow, I can do magic. I'm magical. It did exactly what I thought it would do. And then you get the overcome of fear of, okay, what's going to happen next? Is something going to come through there? Like, what have I done? Like, what do I do? So there's like this moment that felt like quite a while of staring, thinking, I don't actually know what to do next now. Like I've sort of summoned something to do something. And then when you're a child at that age, what do? You hide under your covers. So that's literally what I ended up doing. I thought I'll hide under the covers, wait it out, because I don't know what to do anymore. I can't keep staring until, I actually fell asleep in the end. But I remember sitting under the covers, getting really hot, thinking I want to put my head out, but I don't know what to do. I just want it to go. And when you're a child, you think you've been under the covers for ages or you're hiding for ages. Hi, Andy. So you end up just sort of popping your head out and falling asleep in the end. But it was super strange because nothing come of it. And when you're a child, you think, well, if something bad was going to happen by now, it would have happened. But it didn't. But it was just super strange, really. And I didn't tell my dad until the last few years, really, because he started telling me about things that happened in that house when he was a child in that house. So it sort of ties in that, wow, more things could have happened. It did always feel cold in that room. And you think, well, maybe I've forgotten some things that happened. We used to have like a dog, and you would hear the door going when it would come in and walk around and go back out again and hear like footsteps in the corridor. And it makes you think, were those things that you thought they were at that time? You thought it was a parent walking around or the dog walking, but was it that? So going backwards, this house wasn't an old haunted house or anything. It was a built property in Berkshire. They had a load of houses they built sort of after the war, 40s, 50s. So it was that age property. The land did used to be a forest in that area. It was called Bracknell Forest. So the house that he was in, he lived in with his dad. He had older siblings that pretty much moved out. But in that room, when he was a child, he had a growl that come from the wardrobe. He said he just went to the wardrobe one day to get something out of it, and something growled and scared him, and he ran off out of that room. Also, he said he was in bed sleeping one night in that room, and something sort of punched him in his back and woke him up. And he said it felt like something was clawed his back. So he was frightened of that room. And later in life, obviously, I had that experience in that same room as well with seeing something move, but I don't recall anything else leading up to that. So maybe later in life, sometime, if I've got someone trustworthy, I wouldn't mind being just hypnotized, really, see if anything went on, because that's super strange, really. He also seen plenty of UFOs, especially when he lived in that house and in that area as well. So that's where that sort of paranormal UFO connection comes in. He has a history of seeing them, and was into Roswell, books like that. So that's how it got me into ufology first, really, and then paranormal backwards, because I was always like, what book are you reading? Hi, Warren. Reading his books, Day After Roswell, things like that. So that's what I got into. But now I'm stepping back into the field, getting interested, reading books, watching these streams. I do some book reviews for people as well. That connection is coming in. So it's really interesting that you have paranormal, you have things going on in your house, but also you're seeing lights outside, or what you think are lights. So there's definitely that connection there, but I don't understand it like all of you guys. It's like you just come and you join these fields to try and find out what's going on, what people are saying, what's, what experience people have had, to try and make sense of it all. Hi, Danny. So yeah, with this story, I just wish I knew more about the property, because I know it's not old. But my granddad, who lived in that property with my dad, he was in World War II, and he had a lot of trauma from that as well. And you wonder if it follows trauma. A lot of people have had bad childhoods, bad experiences that do have these sort of negativity that follows them, and you kind of think, is it latched onto that because the house wasn't old? Maybe the land was old. Maybe it's with the land, or maybe it's with the person. Something is drawn into that energy. But I also know that my granddad had really bad experience with the war. Just a little bit of backstory. He was Polish, and the Germans would take them from their house when they're sleeping in the early hours of the morning and put them on a boat. He was in a fishing village, so he got captured, and then he was forced to fight as a German soldier initially, and then he was recaptured, and then he was fighting for the British. So he had two sides, seeing where you're with your friends, and then you're on the opposite side. So he had a lot of trauma, a lot of regrets as well from what he saw from that. I know he was on a boat at one point, and we think that ship sank. So he had terrible trauma, and he brought that with him, and he was an alcoholic, and he gambled and that when he left the military finally. And then so my dad had that as a father figure, and you kind of think, what latched onto his dad, maybe it latched onto him. So that's quite interesting to hear really what people really say when they're talking about these cases, because there is that backstory that people forget. They think, why has that happened to me? And you've got to go back and you think, well, think about your parents, think about your upbringing. But he's not had, that I've known, ever seen any entities or anything, but he's seen very different types of UFOs. He's seen like a string of, like a train, he said, of orange orbs. He's actually seen an aircraft. They fly frequently over Berkshire because they're going into Heathrow all the time. But he's seen like a metal ball drop from an aircraft, and he thought initially something had fell off the aircraft. But he was outside at the time with my mum and my aunt because he was working on the roof. So he did have witnesses to that. So and I've seen those sort of images going around in the circuit. You can see aircraft with a little metallic ball by them. So they're quite known, quite popular. And yeah, just different sort of UAP in the sky. So I've seen 2 orange orbs myself, and I've seen a white orb of light as well. But I don't have as many experiences as he is, but I'm super interested in it because there's a lot of people obviously that have these beings and they have adoptions and everything else that goes with it. So that's where my interest took off, ufology, but also I've also been interested in ghost hunting and things like that as well. But yeah, the connection now, I think more people are much more open, and that's why people are collaborating like this, because they're like, this goes together a bit. A lot of people's have these things that happen to them, but they're seeing lights, orbs, or they're having these other experiences. So yeah, this is what drew me back into the field. It's like there's more to it now. There's a lot more to it. So yeah, I just wondered if, actually, I'm asking you because I don't know if I've ever asked you on chat or anything, if you've seen UFOs or orbs of light when you've been investigating as well. Yeah. And what colour were they?
I've seen a few over the years, but there was one, it must have been about 8 years or so now. I used to live in a top floor flat in Cheltenham in the middle of town. And I just got back from work or something one day, and I was just sort of chilling out in the evening, looked out of the window. It was in the summer, so it was still light outside. Very light, probably 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that. And I saw this black ring. Now, not your stereotypical UFO. What it looked like was, if you can imagine, I don't know if tractors have like inner tubes in the tires, but it looked like a black inner tube with a hole in the middle. Except this was probably 50 times the size of a tractor wheel. It was huge. And there's a big tall building in Cheltenham. It's called Eagle Tower. It's actually the tallest building in the town. It's I don't want to say skyscraper, but it's a big tall tower block, offices. And this object moved behind the building, and you could see how big it was compared to where the office floors were in the building and the size of the windows. It took up probably 5 or 6 of the floors of the windows, so you could see how big it was, 5 or 6 stories high. And it gently moved behind the building, and then it sort of went on its side and then shot up into the sky, and couldn't see anything, but I managed to get a picture of it while it was floating past. And
so it was slow enough at that point to capture something.
It was moving really slowly. It was just really, really slow. And at first I was thinking, what could that be? Is it some kind of balloon or something? But if it was a balloon, you'd see it gently sort of bobbing around in the wind and probably turning a little bit, and just because I've seen balloons in the sky before, and I thought, oh, what's that? You see the odd silver balloon that someone's let go of, and you think, oh, is that a UFO? And then you'll see it bob in the wind and do something, and then move over there, and it's a balloon. So it's deep away. But what I saw this time, I didn't know what it was. And when I saw it literally just shoot up into the sky, the speed of light, and then it was gone, it was like, well, what the hell was that kind of thing? But I've seen strange lights in the sky. I've seen silver orbs or blobs in the sky as well that have just sort of drifted over. I've seen quite a bit over the years.
My dad's seen blobs actually around here. Says they look like worms floating in the sky, like, I don't know, plasma or something. But I've
seen that as well, like funny plasma-y worm things rolling in a rolling motion. Yeah,
very strange, because you don't know if some of that is man-made or, I don't know, a balloon going down. But actually what you said about the ring shooting off like that, then you saw it steady moving along, but to see it shoot off, you think, what does that? What looks like that, and what does that?
I contacted the local press after that. I was so sort of, I don't know, overwhelmed after spotting it. I thought, I need to get the word out that there's something going on. So I contacted the local press and sent them a picture, and they did a story on it.
Oh wow! I like to see that.
So you dig around, But I know what I saw, and I know that it wasn't of this world. There's absolutely no way it could have been. So, yeah.
And exactly, you want to tell people because you want to tell them it's real, but also can have a negative impact as well. And then you took a picture, but a lot of people want a picture and they don't have a picture. And it's like, do you know what? It was real for me and it was enough for me. I don't need to, try and convince you. But it's sad when people don't want to believe you and they're not open to it because you think this is a real thing. This has been going on for centuries, and it's covered up. And there's a reason why people come out with things like this. It's not because they're making it up, and it's, I
knew what I saw, and it wasn't your stereotypical UAP stroke UFO. It was something completely different because it was so different. I had to Google what I saw, and there have been sightings over the years of exactly what I saw, just this black ring.
Well, when you said ring initially, I thought you was going to say smoke because a lot of people have seen like holes in the sky, rings where something looks like it's punched through.
No, it was definitely solid, and it wasn't shiny black either. It was like matte kind of thing. Yeah.
And that was in the sky, What about you, Michael? You said you've seen orbs.
So one account that sticks out for me is I wasn't really doing an investigation, but it's a haunted location, and we were I think it was when we were finished working or during hunt season. It's a little fuzzy on the details, but I came out and I was standing in my car and I looked up and it was like maybe 15 feet above my car. And I saw this object, and as soon as I saw it and it realized I had seen it, it bolted off like a bolt of lightning.
Oh.
And there's no storm, there's no clouds. And just as it bolted, the owner's husband comes out, and I go, "Did you see that?" He goes, "No, what?" I said, "There was an object hovering above the vehicles and the building." And he said, "I'm not surprised."
Oh, what? He's seen them before, or why would he?
Well, I think with it being a haunted location and it's on a military base, that they probably get accounts of seeing UFOs and stuff. But it was strange to me because I couldn't describe the shape because it was like a ball of light, and then it just vanished so fast that it was like it turned into like a streak. And so it was like, it was like I knew it was a UFO, but I don't know if it was cigar shaped or what shape because it was cloaked kind of behind this bright light.
It's strange, isn't it? Andy's one's popped up question: what do you believe orbs are? Could they be different types? See, I've changed sort of the way I've thought about this, really, because there's a lot of people that say that they can see in orbs like entities, and they're saying that is them, that is the way they travel around, and you can sort of see faces in them. But is that again something human that we want to see a face? When you're talking about consciousness and being out of your body, you're not in it, you don't physically look like anything, you don't appear like anything. So still trying to work that out, because people again see apparitions and stuff like that as well that represent a human body. So have we got beings, have we got craft, ships, vessels? What it's not so nuts and boltsy anymore, is it? Where it used to be spirits were ghost shaped, looked like a human, but now you've got orbs that interact with people as well in the field of work that you do, that can be seen as the light of like the spirit and their presence. But also you've got similar lights when you're outside that you think, no, that's come from that bigger light, that craft over there, or ships. It's really tricky because it's not clean cut. And it's interacting, it wants to be seen, it's light, it's coming over to you, but I'm quite a skeptic believer as well. So when I've seen the orbs of light I've not thought that was a person, and I've not thought there's a being in there either. I didn't really know what to think, to be honest. I just thought there's two sort of, they're UFOs really. They didn't interact with me. The two orange orbs that I saw were like the classic street lights before you got the LEDs, so they're that classic orange, and they blended in with the street lights because I was facing out of my bedroom window looking out, and I could see the street lights on. And then when I was sort of staring out, looking out a bit longer, I thought, oh, they're moving. There's two of them moving. And I thought, oh, they're not the street lights, because I lived in that house for 3 years. So you start noticing something different. So I thought I'll stare and watch and see what they do. And they're like sort of almost side by side, above tree height. So they're quite low. So they weren't massive, but together, just traveling like that. And I thought they're coming towards me, but so super slow. But I didn't think of going to get my camera phone out and that. I don't even know if I had a camera on my phone at the time, but I did actually have my car on the drive, and I had my 2 children were young and sleeping in the car at the time. So I thought I've got to go outside and I've got to bring them in. But I'm conscious that travel speed it's doing, it's going to get over like my head at some point, and I don't know if I want to be outside when it's doing that, because all I was thinking was I don't want, anything happen to me. I don't want anything happen to the children. So, it's like when you're driving in a car, you know what sort of timing you've got for something before it gets to you. So I kind of thought I've got enough time to get them in, and then see where they are. They should be nearly above my head at that point. So I got the children in and I went outside, and I thought I want to put the car in the garage. And I thought I was kind of chickened out a little bit, because I thought I know they're closer. I can see them just in the sky. I didn't feel scared or anything like that, but I kind of thought, what do I do when they are above me? What are they going to do when they get to me? And then I thought, I've got 2 children inside asleep, like they can't take me. I don't, it was weird. I was just trying to rationalize things as well. I wasn't scared, but I was thinking, if you wait for them to be above you, what are you going to do next? So I thought I'll put the car in the garage, and at that point they're either just past or they'll just be there. I just thought, I don't know, I'm just going to carry on. So I wasn't scared that I didn't want to go outside, but I was sort of thought, just try and be normal, like they're just going to be like Chinese lanterns or something when they get up to you. But at that moment I did put the car in the garage, and I got out and they were gone. Where we lived, the back window had trees that were very high up because it sloped up, and they weren't even above them. So they either disappeared or they were higher than I thought and they'd cleared the trees, but they were just super constant. There was no noise outside or anything like that. It's the classic situation you get when everything stops. And we lived near a really busy town at the time, and we could hear was cars, and you can hear sirens going and people walking around. And at those moments, that whole time, there was nobody around. It was just calm. So those sort of things, they clearly want you to see them. They're definitely for you, because people always out and about and walking the dog and stuff, And I just thought, nobody was around at that moment. But also nothing happened to me. And I did think, check, see if you got missing time. And I was like, no. So I did have all that rational, thought process with me. But I just thought, you kind of think, if the situation was different, would I have just stood and watched them, seen where they go? What do they do next? I'll never know now. But I'd probably be more chilled out now. I would probably just watch now.
Before we get to Danny's question, I got a question for you on the orbs.
Okay.
I get your take on it, and I agree with you somewhat, but how do you explain when there's like investigators take the 3 photos and there's nothing in the room, and the room is full of all these little orb looking, and then they're not there. It's like they're only there for one image, and people are like, oh, that's just dust got kicked up. What's your take on that?
Well, there's you can tell when there's dust and when there's not, when you've seen real footage. Yeah. I've been sent photographs of people that capture orbs, and the same scenario, a picture without and then a picture there, and they're very solid. But you can't necessarily see them at the naked eye at the time. A lot of people are just taking random pictures and they're there. Some people can see them and capture them, which is quite bizarre as well. But I think things are interacting that we can't see. Don't get our vision. We can't see everything. We can't see infrared. We can't see Wi-Fi. We can't see Bluetooth, but we know it's there. And I think that is partially what our issue is we can't see what's around us. We don't, we can't see in the dark, but we've got animals that clearly can, and we've got creatures deep in the sea that, are blind, but then you've got creatures that have got sonar. We don't have all that. So we know all that exists. And what ability do we not have that that is stopping us from seeing what is around us. So I think it's quite narrow-minded in a way to say, well, it's dust, it's it's a reflection of, sometimes it can be a reflection of a mirror or something like that, but also we haven't got all those abilities, so we don't know what we're missing out and we don't know what we can't see. So people generally getting pictures of orbs and light, but the smaller ones, what are they doing and what are the larger ones doing? Are they of the same thing? Are they like something that's coming to interact with you from a main ship, or is it not a ship at all? Is it spirits, or is it conscious beings? What that's the thing that we don't know, why they will come and interact with you and you're not seen. But that's as humans, we don't have all the abilities, sadly. Haunted location you've ever been to? I've been to haunted locations. So Avebury, they've got the Red Lion pub that's right in the circle. That's got a few other. There's got a few haunted stories. So it's actually got a well right inside the pub as well. That apparently people have been down over the years. So there's probably some unfortunate people that are down there, and there is a little plaque on it as well. There is someone that they know of down there, but I think over hundreds of years there's probably quite a few people that went down this well. But it's got a glass top on it and it's lit up, and it's extremely deep from what I can see. So it's got that bit to it there. I think there's a lady that's supposed to haunt the pub as well, but I've not got those vibes when I've gone there. I've been there quite a few times. It doesn't feel like a haunted, eerie pub. Maybe when there's nobody in it at night and that. I used to live in Cornwall as well, and a lot of the buildings, the pubs, hotels there are really old as well. And again, they've all got stories that they had ladies again that would walk around. Laycock as well. There's supposed to be a lady that walks around Laycock. So I've been to quite a few places there, but I don't get that vibe. But I'm not going there looking for it either. But I don't know if that's the best way to approach things. If you're going looking, are you gonna think you found something? Or if you go just enjoying the atmosphere and taking a walk around without any anticipation, is that the better way to be? You're gonna pick up more then? So I've been quite a few haunted places, but I've not ever seen anything or got a bad vibe at all. So I'll keep going back. But yeah, I think being in England, pretty much you can go into most pubs and they've all got a bit of a story to them or a bit of a history. But yeah, being in Cornwall, being in Wiltshire, I've been to places that are haunted, but I don't know if they bigged up the story to try and get the tourists there. I live in an area that is gets a lot of tourists, and I think if you've got a story like that as well, then you're going to get some people going in as well. And Bath, there's haunted places there. So I've been to these haunted places, but I'm not an investigator, so I've not gone with equipment and with that frame of mind. I've just gone as a visitor, really. And Avebury Manor as well is supposed to be haunted. I've been in there, but again, I didn't get any vibes of that. So yeah, maybe I need to go with a different mindset. Maybe get some people with some equipment and go and have a look. But for me, I don't really pick up on that. I'm not really someone that picks up on energy that's a bit negative. So I know a time that I do, then there's something real going on. I'm quite chilled out, quite a calm person. I don't sort of get freaked out easily. So I don't know if it's, your personality as well that affects it, or your mindset. I don't know. So,
I find it Nicname that you keep saying you're not a paranormal investigator, yet you've had so many experiences and everything that it's like you are an investigator, because just because you don't have equipment, it's not the equipment that makes the investigator. It's going out and experiencing the place and documenting what you've experienced. And I feel like that's what you do. And so I wouldn't discount, and say I'm not. It's just, I'm just pointing that out for you that,
it's nosiness. I'm nosy, Michael. I want to know what people have said they've seen, or and that's my skepticism as well. I'm going to go there and I'm going to say, right, I'm going to see if I feel what people say they feel there. A lot of people can hype something up just to get attention and draw attention to that area or themselves. So I'm kind of going that mind, like, I'm not going to find anything, and that's not because I don't believe. It's like just try and be honest and try and be clear and just think, is there something going on in here in this area? But
that's how I do it.
Yeah, but I'm fortunate where I live and where I've been living that I've grown up around it as well. So yeah, maybe I'm at peace with it. I don't ever want to have a negative experience, and I know a lot of people do with paranormal field, with poltergeist, things like that as well, or attachments and shadow beings. I don't want any of that, really. Nobody does, but I guess that's the way that and you can be a bit more of an empath. But also with UFO side of things, people have the beings and that sort of thing as well. I don't like calling them aliens, but people have those experiences as well, and you think, how do you unless you've experienced that and you speak to someone that you have gone through that, you can't really know. You can't really know what it's like. And a lot of people that have had those experiences, they don't want to talk about them. So it does make me skeptical when there's a lot of people that are boldly out there and want to talk, because they're very personal and they're very private sort of things that happen to people. So yeah, but that's I'm glad that people have the conversation though, and talking to people is still very much out there, these experiences, and but obviously there's a lot of people out there that you've got to sift through the real and the fake. Really, sadly, there's so much fakery with it as well, and it's really sad. But in general, I think when you're in this field, you know when people are being genuine, and you can look at things and you can be like, I know that isn't quite right. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an investigator, but yeah, I am nosy. I will check out places that say that they're haunted or they've got history to them as well. But yeah, not state them out as such. Yeah.
Adam's got a good question for you. Any link between UFOs and ghosts? If
Hey,
so,
honey.
what are your thoughts?
Well, I kind of touched on that earlier, because the experience I had and my dad had with his sort of interaction, if you like, negative interaction, he had seen UFOs and he had seen orbs, but he didn't make the connection. Like in that same period of your life, you were having issues, you were having something going on in your bedroom. He also said he heard noises in the corridor and things like that, like something dropping down the stairs when no one was in the house. So there is that activity he had. So I guess it is like poltergeist activity, but also he's seen all these UFO lights, but he's seen UFOs all throughout his life, even to recent living. He lives very close to where I am with my mum, and he said, I saw something up there in the sky the other day. Plasma was one of them, actually, and something tumbling. But he just sees these things, and he's just sort of at peace with them now. So I think there is definitely something with what we call ghosts, and definitely something with UFOs. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Like everybody else, I'm really keen just to hear other people's experiences, to try and think, this tends to happen when people see this, or people see certain coloured orbs when this has gone on in their life. Because I know like blue ones are the negative sort of ones from what I've been read, and I sort of do my own little armchair research. Blue orbs are the ones that seem to have the entities, the beings, the visitations, and that. Orange ones, I don't think anyone's ever complained, or I've read a story about orange ones being an issue. Also, there's white, and I've seen the white one, a white one that was just in North Wales when I was staying there. We stayed in a barn conversion as a holiday home. So we were out on a farm. I had an elderly dog that needed to go out at midnight to the toilet, and it was super high winds. It was a bit rainy, but the wind was so high, the trees were really high. The wind was super strong, and I was standing by the back door, holding the back door to stop it from slamming, just waiting for the dog to go to the toilet, and I again saw in the distance there it was a little bit hilly. I could see a white light, and then it was moving forward out. So it blended in again with all the lights that were on the hill with the houses and that, and you can see them in the day. You can see the lights. So it did look like the same sort of LED white light there. And that was a ball of light that just kept traveling out. And I thought, wow, that's in a straight line and it's super windy. Like, how is it doing that? But it did. It just come out in a straight line. I was quite low. There was like a bit of a hill and trees. So it was started going behind the trees. So the tree was blowing and it obviously the trees, but you could just see it sort of looked like it was flickering, but it wasn't flickering. It was just dead straight behind the trees. And I thought, it didn't do anything, it just traveled out. But again, I just thought, wow, that's impressive in the high winds, being that low, being straight, no aircraft lights on it. The time that we stayed there were fighter jets because they fly out over there training. There was a police helicopter that flew really low. You could see the pilots in it. So I can't remember if that happened before, a day before or after. I don't think it was connected in any way, but I had direct things that I could think, I've seen these while I've been here this week, and it's not fitted in with that. You know, there's no noise as well, because I thought helicopter was super low when we were where we were staying. You could see the pilots. I thought, what are they doing? Like, are they going to try and land here? That was a bit strange. But you get a load of racket with aircraft, with those types of aircraft we saw that week, and you get more lights than just one ball of white light. So I've seen that light as well, a white light, and just flew over. I did go and get my phone and I did record it and I did put it on my group, but it's so disappointing because it just looks like a white light still in the sky, and it wasn't still because it was so dark outside. You can't see any perspective. It just looks like I'm filming a light in the sky, but it was actually traveling along. So that's another thing when you actually get footage, because it was traveling so slow. I thought, I'm going to go back and get my phone, but when you get the footage and you look, you're like, that doesn't look like what I saw. It doesn't, it could just be a planet flickering in the sky. So then you think, do you know what? I don't care if people don't believe me, think it's, a load of rubbish. I captured it, there it is. But do you know what? I think that was more for me. I think if I see anything else or capture anything else, I'm not going to be trying to convince people, but I will, I can resonate with people that tell me stories and I can believe them, but I just think that was really, really disappointing. And I've got it on the group because it's there, but I actually deleted it from my phone because I thought I'd got to explain to people each time I show them this footage that there was loads of trees, it was windy. You can capture it a bit on the audio, how windy it was, but it just wasn't there. And I just thought, what's the point? I've got to keep explaining myself. People are just going to go, that looks like a star. And I thought,
Venus in the night sky, that's what everyone says, isn't it?
Well, it does. And I said to my husband, like, oh, yeah, like there's a light. Oh, yeah, it's a helicopter. I thought, it's not a blooming helicopter. Do you know what? I can't be bothered. But I just thought, I'm seeing things like people are, and, loads of people just aren't ready to accept, don't want to believe, don't want to know because it frightens them. But yeah, that wasn't too long ago, really. That was a few years ago. But that's two different orbs of light. So I'm interested if people say different colours, like not many people say like green or anything like that, or even red, really. A lot of people say they see white and they see orange. So again, I want to sort of, what's the significance in that? Is that, is that a craft or is that a being? Like what is the different light mean? And is that, why does it come to you in those times of your life as well? Because I was in good times of my life then. I wasn't sort of down or anything like that. I was, I didn't get freaked out with them either for both. But again, they didn't interact with me. They just sort of drifted past again. So it's a bit weird. Maybe I'm too standoffish and they don't want to come to me, or who knows? But yeah.
Andy's got a question for you, Joe. It's been on the screen for a while, actually. He said, oh, sorry, Nick. He says, can you tell the key story?
The key story? Oh, right. Do you know what? I've had this happen twice now. We moved house earlier this year, and I've said to Andy before, in our previous house, my husband used to work late and he used to come home about 9:30, and 9:30 on a Tuesday night was the time that I was sat in the living room someone was really trying to turn the key to get in the door, and I was in my pajamas. Thanks, Blue. Watching telly, thinking, oh, come on, just get the key in the door and get in. I couldn't be bothered to get up. I was lazy. And I thought, why are you taking so long to like get in? And I looked, it was 9:30. It's Tuesday, you know, it's my husband, just, you know, he'll work it out in a minute. And there was a lot of like door trying and twisting going on. And then it just stopped and went away completely. And I thought, what's he doing? Is he going around the back now because he can't work out the front door? And then like half an hour later, he came back. And I said, did you try and come and get in earlier? Did you go like to the petrol station or something? And he's like, no, I just worked late. I said, well, someone was trying to get in at 9:30 and they were really trying a key and turning, you know, the handle and everything to get in. And I said, well, thank God I didn't get up and go, come on, come in then. Because I thought, you know, what would I have seen? What would have happened then? So that was really, really bizarre because the person just didn't. There's been stints in the UK where people have tried door handles to go in, nick the car keys, or just do a quick rob, and that kind of was a period of time when things like that were going on. So I had that little doubt in my mind of thinking maybe it's someone just, you know, by now you would have given up if they didn't live in this house. That made me think it really was my husband. He just couldn't see how to get in properly. But it clearly wasn't him. And I always think, God, what would happen if I went and answered the door then? Because I would have just been like, come on in. I wouldn't have like peeked around like, who's that? I would have thought it was him and, you know, opened the door and said, hurry up and get in. So that was really, really strange. I never saw it. It was dark as well, the time of night that happened. But that was, yeah, just a real strange one that someone was that determined to come in. And then I always kept the door locked, obviously, after that. Because I thought if I didn't have the front door locked, they would have come in, whoever, or they, or whatever it was, they would have been in. But I had the front door locked. And if I didn't, I was like, what would happen if I hadn't? So
where were you at the time? Was that in Chippenham as well?
It's down the road from where I live now. Yeah, we stay Market Town. Yeah. But yeah, that was strange because I thought, you know, I locked the door, thank God I did, and thank God I didn't get the hump and go, come on in then. But then you're always thinking, what was it? Was it an actual person or was it something else, you know? It was, yeah, bit of a strange one, that one. But, you know, it's one of the things you never find out. Maybe you're grateful that you don't. But yeah, I always keep the front door locked now and the back door locked because I always think, you know, what could have happened alternatively. Strange.
So was this a one-time thing or did it happen again?
I'm sure that happened again that someone's been trying the door as well. I can't remember if it was that house as well. And I had like, I moved house twice in 1 year once, and I had dead birds hit the window before I moved. In the same year, 2 different houses before we moved, like a pigeon hit and died on at the front, and the same thing happened when we moved 6 months later from this other house. The same thing, a bird was on the floor again, and kids were like, oh, there's a dead bird out there, can get rid of it. So that's strange, but that doesn't mean there's anything paranormal going on or anything. But I thought that's really weird that 2 big major events that happen in your life, moving is like a very stressful event. And just before I moved, birds have hit the window and died. And I think that's very strange. Not in this house and not in the house that we moved from earlier this year. But I just thought, yeah, it's weird how things like that happen and people, you know, think they're omens and there's something to it. I would be interested to see if anyone else says that things like that happen or what the meaning of, if there is any meaning of that. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, just more.
A story about if a bird flies through the window and someone's in the room, then that person that witnessed the bird flying, if the bird hits the window and dies,
yeah,
the person in the room is supposed to die imminently as well or something.
Oh.
Now, whether that's a rumour, I don't know. But I remember when I was a kid, I was staying over at my grandparents' house once, and my great granddad, who was well into his late 80s, was sat in their living room, and it was a hawk, or it was a small bird of prey, flew into the window and died. And he said, oh, I mean, he'd gone deaf anyway, but he heard the bang of this bird in the window. Yeah. And then literally a month later, he was dead. He died. And it wasn't until years later that I stumbled across something, and it said, oh, if someone's in a room, if a bird flies into whether it's an old wives' tale, I don't know, but if someone's in a room and they witness a bird flying into a window and the bird kills itself, then apparently the person in that room, it's supposed to mean that death is imminent.
Okay.
So
I've escaped death so far, but how many years is that before?
Yeah, I'm like, so have I.
Yeah.
And we ended up putting little mirrors on our windows so the birds would stop flying into them.
yeah,
But it's strange, yeah. I mean, I wasn't living in one of the houses long enough. I'll just read Danny's question.
Yeah.
I haven't been Benton Picks. I've been Whitby. But I know there's an awful lot up that way. There's a heck of a lot that's going on up there, and it's constant as well. And it's such a mixture of things. It is people seeing sort of dogmen, lights off the cliffs, lights under the sea over there. I need a good week or so up there really, because I'm intrigued. And then obviously inland, there's stuff going on in military bases up there. So yeah, that's true, Warren. So yeah, that's definitely a place to go in the UK. That's like a hotspot, and also Wales. And it's a shame really, because the UK we don't talk about things like this enough really. That's why I'm grateful for these channels, because there's so many people experience stuff, even in the chat, you know, we're saying about things that happen where they've been and that. And I think we're just so quiet in the UK. The US is so much more liberal about talking about, especially Bigfoot. It's so big over there as well, and having shows, even if they're a bit fake or whatever, it's just common. It's more easier to talk about, and you've got it in Congress and stuff. And here we just sat back waiting. I don't know if we're waiting for someone else to come forward or what is it, but you know, you just can't. It's like a hidden thing, you know. I like to go in a pub and talk to people about this sort of thing, but it's not. It's just something you don't talk about, and it's not out there in the media really. And if it is, it's in and out really quickly. But there's some massive things that happen, especially Benton and things all the time. People are taking pictures of these lights as well. You know, people actually have got physical evidence, and the same in Wales as well. And it's like, but it just doesn't last, you know. Penturch, that sort of thing, could have been massive, but again, it's gets buried under the hatch, and people don't want to talk about it. People in these areas don't actually want to talk about things, and you think they obviously don't want to know, or they're frightened of the consequences, or they've been warned. But the culture in the UK is definitely not as liberal as the US.
Helen and me were out. Oh, it must have been over a month ago, maybe a month and a half. It was the blue moon that we had, the big blue moon, and we drove up to Almouth, up in Northumberland, to get a really good view. It was unfortunate because it started going a bit cloudy just as we got up there, but we did see it, and we did get a good view. And as Kel just said, we saw a strange light, and I thought it was a helicopter at first. She said, "Oh, what's that over there?" And I said, "Oh, it's just a helicopter." And I sort of ruled it out for a few minutes, but it wasn't a helicopter. So we don't know what those lights were. Pretty unexplainable. But,
Sorry, what colour lights were they? What were they doing?
I think it was a bluey white. Kel probably let me know otherwise. I'm sure it was like a bluey kind of white, possibly green. Can't remember. But I thought it was a helicopter just circling and flying around, but it wasn't. It just disappeared straight away. But we've been watching it for 5 or 10 minutes. So, yeah.
And when we had the eclipse that was more visible in Cornwall in the 90s, a lot of people saw aircraft and stuff like that, or things in the air at the time. So not a lot of people looking up enough. I love looking at the moon and being outside and stuff like that, looking outside up in the sky, because you miss stuff. But yeah, it's interesting, you know, with all the or it changed from orange to blue, then green, then it disappeared. So you had a bit of a light show then.
Yeah.
Because I can't see them, but certain parts of the UK as well, this year people have been able to see like the northern lights and stuff like that as well. Oh,
we saw them too a few weeks ago. We went to do an investigation. It's called Winter's Gibbet, and it's up in Northumberland somewhere in the middle of nowhere on top of a hill. And rumour has it that some guy from the 17th or 18th century was hung at this spot on the hill, and the original gallows aren't there, but they've set up like reproduction gallows. So
Okay. Oh yeah, I think I've seen.
So we went up there to try and do an investigation to see if we could capture it. And we were up there and we got some good videos and stuff. And in one of the films, I was filming with a GoPro, and we saw this white mist in the form of a figure with a head. That as I was panning around, it was there, and we didn't know it was there until we reviewed the footage afterwards. But the funny thing is, we went up there to do an investigation, and all of a sudden, all these people started turning up in their cars, and we're thinking, "Oh, what's going on?" kind of thing. And we were looking at the sky. I mean, the sky was mesmerizing that night. We had a really good view of the Milky Way, the cloud thing of the Milky Way. It went right, it was right ahead, so you could see it really clearly. But it was actually the Northern Lights that night, and we were chatting to some lady that appeared, and she said, "Oh, why are you up here?" And we said, "Oh, we're doing an investigation. Why are you up here?" She said, "Oh, to get a view of the Northern Lights." We were like, "Wow!" And then literally 5-10 minutes after she mentioned that, the whole sky just sort of illuminated in greens and pinks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With your naked eye, you couldn't see it that clearly. You could definitely see it, but it wasn't that clear. But Kel was taking some pictures on her camera phone. She's got one of these Samsung, whatever it is, camera phones. And as soon as she took the photos on the phone, you could really see the greens and the pinks and everything. It was amazing.
Wow.
That's the first time I've ever seen the Northern Lights.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
Were amazing.
This is the year. This year, they've been on certain hotspots around the UK, but they've not ever been a clear enough sky for me.
Yeah.
Andy, you ate Milky Ways. But yeah. So going back to what you're talking about, Gallup, we've got a hill called Morgan's Hill, where after the name of someone that was hung on a hill near here. There's actually like a picnic area. It's really weird what people do, isn't it? There's like a picnic area near it. There's also an old Roman road, so we've walked part of that as well. But again, I don't get anything from them, but I'm not going out there. I was walking the dog or going out for the day. But I go to those places really, and I don't sort of feel like there's anything unusual with them. If I come with paranormal reshots and thought, no, I want to spirit, so go back to this place. I think only with that question that's popped up there, maybe back in that bedroom when I was a child and seeing that curtain move, I kind of want to go back and just see what it looked like now to me, because when you're small, everything seems so big and everything's wondrous as well, and you don't have an explanation for things. So I kind of want to go back and have a look and just see, what I feel now. But nowhere I've been and felt frightened or anything like that, but I haven't really pushed myself to. But I think I definitely need to get up to Bempton really. Wales I go to for holidays quite frequently, and I don't get any bad feelings, and I've been to like the area of Penturch and stuff like that as well, and places I've generally stayed. I found that they're like hotspots for UFOs and things like that, but don't get bad feelings in there. So I was interested in Bempton because there's a lot of people that see Dogman or those sort of cryptids, and I thought I could do with going somewhere like that. But also where you are, Matt, as well. I don't know if they're in the chat, but I've got someone that likes to frequent the woods around there.
All right.
Forest of Dean, that's seen unusual things.
Yeah, that's
and that's closer for me to go to, so I could do with checking that out. But there's general stories that you can find when you're sort of in these chats and looking in these groups and that. But I've got someone that contacted me that had said about experiences there and sent me a picture and that. So I think definitely that's your neck of the woods. I think if you're going to do some investigating and that, check out there, because there's definitely stuff that's going on like on your doorstep there. And I do try and keep going back to Avebury and stuff, because people have seen UFOs over Silbury Hill, and Maria Wheatley lives local to there, and she said that she saw like a dog figure like near the Long Barrow, and I've been up there quite a few times, and I don't, maybe it's just me, and it's, maybe they're not coming to me. I don't really need them to, but it's just to sort of my skeptical mind, isn't it, to rule it out and go, right, if I see something, would I see it the same way they are? It's just that curiosity, I think, with me. Would I use hypnosis. I think I would, but it's trusting people as well, Simon. It's finding people that aren't trying to gain anything and aren't going to give you a false memory. You know, if it literally was just seeing that and there was nothing more to it, then that's the end of it. I don't want someone to embellish a false memory with anything, like anything that I'd like to just get the feelings back again of some of these lights that I've seen and just, stuff like that through hypnosis. But you need someone that's credible and someone that's genuine, because I know you can get some false information with hypnosis as well, false things that come out of it.
I'm kind of curious, Nicname, with your group, Unknown, Wiltshire and Beyond, has anyone posted anything and you were like, oh, I'm so glad that's not where I live. I don't want to see that, experience that, or that freaked you out, that it was like, wow?
Not really. I mean, a lot of people on that group, when the group started over a year ago, last summer, there was a lot more local stories I used to post on there. Local things. We've got like a bird man as well that's supposed to stalk our area that I haven't seen, and I use that road quite a lot. But I might just go and just take pictures just for the group so people can just get a bit of perspective about these areas people are talking about, because they're not spooky. They're quite normal areas where people see things. So initially in the group, people would take pictures of where they've been and put pictures up and stuff like that, but that's sort of stopped a bit more now. And then I've changed it to Beyond, because we've obviously got people that all across the world that are in there, people that have been guests on your show and Andy's show, and they're global. So that's why I made it Beyond, because I wasn't getting enough people in Wiltshire contributing to stuff. And I know there's so much going on in this area, and I thought, a lot of people might want to come in here and start sharing experiences, but it hasn't sort of worked out like that. So, but if you go back to the start of the group, or just look in photographs, if you go in the photographs, that's where people have put images. There's some brilliant ones from a paranormal group that are down in the southwest. They've got some brilliant images in theatres and stuff that they put on, and hopefully they're still on there. There was one that was like looked like a silhouette of a smoky elephant from the side, and that was a brilliant picture, because there was supposed to be an elephant in that area at the time. I can't remember the story of it. I think it might have been a circus or something like that. But they actually captured this brilliant smoky looking image that looks like an elephant. So it wouldn't put me off going there, but people do generally capture footage as well. But most recently, a lot of people aren't putting things on there, and I don't know if they're just a bit shy or not. But the group's growing slowly. I've kept it private so that people can share stuff that's private to them or they don't want out there. So that's why it's quite a small group, and a group that you've got to sort of find or like know me to get to, because I want people to be able to do that, to be more forthcoming and share images and get opinions and stuff without people that going to troll and that sort of thing. So from doing that and from helping Andy's channel out, I've connected with people, and people have sent me images and told me their stories and that. So that don't want stuff public, or they've told certain people within that field. So like we've got like BBR with Debs that does all the Dogman and stuff like that mainly. So there's people that they go to and trust in that field, or have told me that I've taken that somewhere. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people that are genuine, they don't want really to share it. They just want to say, look, I've seen this and I want you to know, but they don't really want anything to come of it. They don't want, fame and stuff like that, or, even to come on these shows. But they just want someone else to know, yeah, I've seen that, and that does go on in that area. So I'm sure that you get the same as well. People messaging you saying, things privately, but they don't want to put it on the group. So that's, why I've got the group there. But if you go back when it first started, there's a lot of local stories, and there's a lot of people that were posting things, really good images and orbs, stuff like that as well. So yeah, please, if you're not in the group, join the group. But also as well, help Michael and Kel's channel as well. If you think you want to go on and talk about some things as well, then hit them up. So I'm plugging for you. But there's so many people that you wouldn't know stories without connecting with them this way. you'd never know. Stories like my dad's stories are never going to be out there if I don't talk about it. And he's seen a big cat. He's seen a big cat when he was in Berkshire, and I thought, well, that needs recording, really. Like, so I went to Deb Hatswell and I told her, so she put it on her map because she's got a big map of where things going on in the world. For, you know, how many people haven't said about things that have happened? And actually, my uncle told my dad a story about an area that this must have been 60s or 70s that people used to go when they were dating, and it was called Lovers Lane, and that's people just going in the car, whatever. I know there'll be comments in the chat about that. And something like a big dogman, Bigfoot type thing came up to this couple's car that were friends of my dad's brother, uncle, and shaken it around and ransacked this car. And I thought, where, like, what is that, like a Bigfoot in the UK? Is that like a dogman? Or is that, what is that? So I need to speak to him when I see him, because I don't see him very often. But I want to know that story, because that will be a lost story then. He's living, you know, he's well. And I thought, you know, that case is so unique and so different to see something. A lot of people say they see them by the side of the road, or they're driving past, they get scared and don't want to, you know, see this entity or whatever staring at them. But this actually came to the vehicle and started shaking it around and scared them, you know. So I thought, I want to know more of that story, you know, and I want to know where it happened, because that would be in the south of England. And that's another story that, you know, investigators would really love, because there's a lot of stories that they might be keeping to themselves, thinking I need another witness for that. You know, if this is an area that people go to and something like that happens, then that could have happened to a lot more other people. So you
kind of reported Bigfoot in the UK.
Yeah.
And photograph sightings and.
So I do want to find out a bit more and share that story, because I thought that's a snippet of a bit, and I'm like, wow, like I want to know more of that.
And big black cats as well. I know somebody that spotted one, came face to face with one in Stroud, Gloucestershire.
Oh wow, yeah, I've been to Stroud.
You either,
yeah. Stroud is quite woody around there as well. I've stayed centrally, but it is quite woody, and then you go into like Gloucester itself, and then it's like mad, and it's like you go through all this woody area and it feels like you're in the wilderness, and then all of a sudden you're in this massive giant town. But I mean, big cats are generally in your area as well. You're in the right place for that as well. Matt, a lot of people have seen them in your area, and like Wales and that border, so maybe it's that area that they're coming across. Because there's obviously a lot of house building that's going on. The area that my dad saw, his was like in the 70s, and that town has got huge now. But it used to be a forest, so you can understand that landscape back, you know, was a thick forest, and that's been, you know, bit by bit taken away with the house building. So these big cats have, you know, had to go somewhere else. But he just said it was just like a big black cat. It wasn't menacing like a leopard or jaguar or anything like that. He said it just looked like a big black cat, and it jumped over the fence out of the garden. So that was it. He just saw a brief sign. He said they do exist, and I think in Scotland they are native. There are like these black or big cats that are native in Scotland. So it's not something unusual really, but I guess these look more like something that people see in the zoo, and a lot bigger, and they're out of place where they're seeing them. But
she said she was face to face with it in a field one day, early evening, and she was probably stood 6 foot away from it, and she said it was huge. She said it was like a huge black puma.
Wow.
And it even made the local paper, I think.
So what did it do? Did she turn and walk away, or did it walk away? Or
I think she said it gradually walked away. Just turned, looked, and then gradually walked away. And and this wasn't that long ago. This was about 2 or 3 years ago.
I mean, that's why they're elusive, because they're not interacting. They're getting seen on the off chance when people are walking dogs or fishing or whatever. They're not looking to be found, are they? But you also think, gosh, all these people that are experts, that have got the equipment and do wildlife photography and wildlife filming, none of them have captured that. Like, why haven't they? You know, they go abroad and they do the Nat Geo stuff, and you think, well, why aren't they doing it here? Why aren't they just staking out and filming like black cat in the UK? Why has it got to be a secret? I find it really bizarre why. Maybe there's a story behind that. I don't know. Oh, well, there's obviously the people that had these exotic animals.
That's the story that I heard. They let them free years and years ago.
Yeah.
And they've obviously mated with other creatures out there. And who knows? But yeah.
And there's still wealthy people that have exotic animals now. There is like a public list that you can find. But again, there's black market, isn't there, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Saw one flash up with Warren about booking guests and that. My Facebook is very small. There's another area that I contact a lot of people I've got connections with, and a lot of people, a lot of guests I have tried to contact haven't contacted me back, or have said that they are busy, or maybe later date, and then you just sort of forget to go back to them. But some of these people are very, very well known, and they've got other people managing their social media and that. So I guess they can pick and choose their time. They can pick and choose what channels they want to go on and that. So some people are super easy to get on. They're up for it. You just, have a little casual chat. And it's very weird way, I suppose, of approaching a complete stranger. And these people are very trusting that they do, come on the show, like send them a link and tell them to have a look and have a think. And a lot of people do say yes, which is brilliant. And but yeah, it's finding newer people. Andy says nightmare.
I will agree with that.
It's newer people now, and it's also when I'm looking for people. When I started with helping Andy out, UFO was all what I was into. So I was like, what about Preston? What about these UFO type people? But his channel started off very much like paranormal and that, and I was like, I don't sort of know who you trust now. I don't know who the main people are in paranormal anymore. So we've tried Jack Osborne and people like that. There'll be plenty of big guests coming on, but there's a lot of people that can be a little bit hard work, and you think, oh, you said yes, and then they're like, busy. It does take time, but it's a hobby for me, and some of these people, I just think, wow, they're just answering to a stranger. They're a little bit vulnerable, if you like. Think, God, why are you answering me back? Don't take my word for it. But yeah, I've got a lot of connections, a lot of people I've had like conversations with from doing that as well. People that are in the field of my interests, I've been able to talk to them about things that I've been interested just in the background. And also when you've got connections like that, it gives you further connections as well. I don't have Nick Pope, and I've not asked him to. If he asked, it will probably be no. I'm fussy as well for Andy and for anyone who might want my help. I want people that are, well, I've helped you with Preston as well, didn't I? Preston, he's just like, yeah, I'm up for that, and he'll come on. But some people, I want people that I think are genuine and have got good things to say, but it is my opinion, and it is people's public opinion as well of them. So yeah,
I'm not sure about Nick Pope, if I'm honest. I saw him with a few friends a few years ago do a talk above a hub in Cheltenham. It was like a conference room, and it was a UFO talk that he did. And basically he was ruling everything out, saying we've got no evidence to say that UFOs actually exist. He was really bunking the whole thing. And then now he comes out, and you see him on TV quite a lot now, or on these shows. I know he lives in America now, and he's all for it. Thinking, well, that's not what you said when we saw you do that talk a few years ago.
He did. He used to, in the 90s, I used to watch loads of UFO conferences on tape and all the documentaries, and he used to always be on there, and he was always the one that would always go, no. And my dad would go, oh, it's Nick Pope. He's going to say, no, they don't exist, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he's making money out of saying yes now, isn't he?
Exactly.
He's living the life in LA. And that's the sort of people that I, stay away from, really. So there might be some people you think, why don't you ask them to come on the show? But, Andy can ask them if he wants them on, but I've been following this. I was a child when I started reading books like Communion and things.
Good too.
Well, I don't like the front cover of it, and I bought it a couple of years ago because I thought I can't remember much of that. I want to read it again, and I didn't keep it. I really don't like that front cover of that book. It does really frightened me. And I remember my dad was reading it when I was a child, well, younger. I'll turn it over. I'll see it in the front room by the living room and be like, oh, I don't like that front cover. So I didn't keep that book. But yeah, from reading 30 odd years of reading and being interested in this field as well, you know, there's people that I still would read, watch, follow now. There's a lot of people that are getting old or people that passed on, like your Stanton Friedman. I've got Timothy Goodbooks behind me as well, but he doesn't do interviews anymore because he's getting older. So it's a shame because those sort of people, they're dying out, you know. So
they're all good ones. Yeah, you're right. Stanton Friedman. There was a guy called Jim Mars, I think, who was pretty good. Was it Bob Lear, John Lear?
Okay.
One of them. I'm not sure about him. He's got loads of stories and stuff. He was the son or the grandson of the chap that came up with the Learjet.
Yeah.
He's got strange stories and stuff. I think he died a couple of years
ago.
Yes,
yeah, I know you mean. Yeah. So that's the thing. I want people to keep it going as well, and you know, and keep it fresh. So there's, you know, people that aren't big in this field that have got great cases and doing good documentaries and stuff. And you send a lot of new people on. Yeah, we're working on as well, covering different sort of genres as well. But also I've got like a humanoid book here, and I help admin Albert Rosales' Facebook page, and he told me to get this humanoids book. So and that's the page that I help him out with. So top's popped up. So I like getting old books as well because again they're going out of print. All these books, you know, this is a proper oldie, well-used one. 60p it was like resold for once, but that's how old it is. It was only 80p when it was full price. But these are the books that, you know, you might be able to find on eBay, but they want hundreds of pounds. But this is the sort of stuff there's like a new narrative being fed with it, or isn't there? And you know, it's all UAPs now, and it's new, and you know, there's no history. And so that's why you need to get these old books when you find them, because you know they'll be erased from history. They don't print them now, so you know they're going out. Yeah, I've only got a few behind me, but I've got Paul Sinclair and Philip Mantle, Paul Blake Smith on there, Andrew Collins. I've got a mixture, but yeah, definitely get in your charity shops or go and ransack some people's lofts and stuff, you know. And,
car boot sales.
Yeah, car boots, because it's a shame because once they're gone, and also these people that write in these books as well, they're, you know, not going to be around forever. So yeah, so that's me really. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and I think I've probably been doing the most babbling for the hour or so. And thank you for everyone for watching and in the chat as well. Okay, don't really go into me for a night.
Well, this episode is about you, so it's good that you're doing most of the talking. That means we're doing our job.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess Bigfoot in the UK is something that we need to look at really and see like what big cases have we ever had in the UK. Like why?
Well, Kel and me did an investigation about a month ago, maybe just under. We were checking out an old pub on the outskirts of Newcastle, and one of the guys that we had along with us during the investigation claims that he's seen Bigfoot. I know Kel's been looking before for Bigfoot at a place called Bowling, which is I think in Northumberland somewhere. But the chap that we were with, actually, he was showing us some photographs on his phone of what looks like Bigfoot walking down this sort of country path thing. And there have been quite a few sightings of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, in the UK. So that's definitely something worth looking into a bit more.
What did you think of the images that he was showing you? Did they look like?
They were very small, and he'd obviously taken these photos from a distance, but it was definitely some humanoid-looking creature on two legs. You know, it wasn't like a bear or something leaning forward on all fours.
No, and he didn't look like someone dressed up to you as well.
Yeah, it was definitely stood upright, and I don't know. I mean, he was adamant what he saw. He said, "Oh, I know what I saw." Definitely. And this guy goes out camping quite a lot. He likes to sort of do the whole wilderness kind of thing.
Like wild camping.
Quite a lot, just wild camping. Yeah, doing all sorts. But it was interesting, and I know he did say to us, "Oh, we'll have to go one day and see if we can see anything else." But there were certain spots where it's been cited quite a lot. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and seeing if there's old cases as well.
Mm.
You know, people might have stopped talking about it now. It might have been a big buzz back at a certain sort of flap, maybe.
Yeah.
It went on. Blob squatches. Yeah, but we don't have enough of that in the UK. But we're quite a lot on Dogman, and again, Kelly's as well. And up there is a lot of sightings and a lot of cryptid sightings. So.
And what are they? Are they interdimensional? That's the thing. You know, or do they just reside and hide away from humans, or do they sort of traverse through different dimensions?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
They could be from inner Earth.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory.
Yeah. Well, there was a map system that I put up on my group maybe a month or so ago now of deep, well-known connected maps around the world, like tunnels, deep underground bases. And you think, well, before that, there's got to be cave systems that before humans interfered, you know, there's got to be these cave systems, and there's got to be that under the water as well.
Yeah.
And again, we're going up in space and looking at space, aren't we? But we always got our focus, our attention is otherwhere, but not here, and not in Earth and under the water and that. And maybe we do know more.
Well, there's a story that went around a few years.
Not allowed to know what they found, you know.
There's a story that went around a few years ago of a couple of young children that apparently found their way through these underground caves and just appeared in some little English village somewhere. But they had blue skin, I think. Their skin was blue. And once they sort of made it to the surface, it didn't take long for their skin to sort of change colour back to normal sort of skin colour. But that's a story. Kel was talking to me about that not that long ago, but I'd heard the story before or read about it before.
Green children, isn't there? There's a story about the green children as well.
Green? It may have been green. I might be getting it wrong. Green, not blue. I don't know.
Yeah. But there could be stuff underground, definitely. I mean, if you go in ufology side of things, there is supposed to be, you know, tall beings that live underground, and they've been here before we came along, and that sort of thing, you know. And it's quite possible because we're not looking there, are we? We're looking for people to tell you where things are, and you know, being directed to keep looking in space and stuff like that. And you know, we've got possibly portals, you know, on, you know, our ancient history and places, you know, in like Stonehenge and Avebury, or those sort of areas are supposed to be sort of portals as well. And you know, where these big ancient landmarks are significant. And you know, history again, let's say Woolpit and Suffolk, there's a lot of people, you know, that sort of discredits. It's too out there. Like, how did ancient people know how to, you know, time travel and that? Well, they meditated and they used consciousness and they astral traveled, and we don't do that now.
No.
So, you know, they could have had all of, you know, all that knowledge and all that ability that we don't have now. We know there's more to humans.
Well, and the other thing too, if you think about it, is back then we didn't have people telling us, no, you can't do that. And so they were free thinking, where we're all having to break the limitations that were taught upon us.
Yeah, and schooling and authorities and stuff like that as well. So one of the, if there was asked this question, it's quite common that people go, where in the world would you like to go, and that sort of thing. I definitely want to go and see the Vatican archives. They got 50 miles of archives. That's not just books. That's going to be statues. That's going to be objects. That could be craft. 50 miles. And that's a recent podcast with Ross Coulthard said that. And you just think that's not going to be just loads of books, is it? So what else around the world, you know? But to know that sort of vast size is just archives as well, is, you know, a lot of hidden history in there as well. And you know, it's locked down. People aren't allowed to go down there. You know, there's no one really knows what's down there either. You think, why is it the Vatican? Why is it there as well? What's the significance? You know, you kind of think that whole city is hiding something as well. It's its own city. It's all monoblock paved. It's got a giant building over it, and it's got 50 miles of, you know, archives under it. They must go deep underground or under, you know, the city. But that's somewhere that I'm interested, and Antarctica as well. What's
Oh,
going
yeah.
on there?
Definitely Antarctica.
Yeah. So, but yeah, who knows? That's why people need to keep talking, don't they? And people need to be like a bit more open now, so that maybe people can be trusted to know a little bit more. Because more people are free thinking, and they know there's a bit more to things. Well, there's a lot more to things in life. So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate these conversations and people like clubbing together with their thoughts and experiences and that. It doesn't necessarily give you answers, but I think it's good that people have these conversations. And
And what's interesting too is we think because we've looked at our current maps and globes that we know all the areas that are around us, and being a history major, I actually kicked myself one day because I came across a map somebody showed me, and it had a territory on there I had never heard of anywhere mentioned. Like, it was erased from history,
oh
called
wow,
Tartaria. And it was a land of technology and all kinds of things. And I am working on trying to find people that know about it so that I can, like you're saying, Nicname, bring it onto a show so that we can bring it back into awareness. But yeah, so if you or Andy know of somebody, let me know, because so far I've been hitting a brick wall with trying to get people to come on and say, yes, this is the research we found, this is why it was hidden. And it's all under the esoterics, which is hidden knowledge. And so I'm enjoying bringing more awareness to that, because I think we all need to stop focusing on what's known and look at the esoterics and say, what do we really not know that we need to know?
accept the unknown, and it should be the known.
Yeah, I think we need to take back our choice and say, we're a choice to decide what we know and don't know. We're no longer allowing others to tell us what we ought to know and not know.
Yeah. And I think this, having these shows, having these groups as well, is bringing those sort of people forward again. And I think that's why this knowledge is hidden, because it's powerful to the people to know. We can change the way we live. We already know the story of Nikola Tesla and the free energy and that, and look what happened there. You're not allowed to be able to progress. You're not allowed to have free energy. You've got to pay bills and have oil and that. And we know what we're living in now with AI and the technology we got, and it's still, we're so backwards with some of the things that we do, and that's because things are being kept from us. We only allowed a little drips and drabs. So what are we really capable of, but also what have we lost? What have we lost? Our ancestors had as well. And we know so much, but we still don't know who built pyramids and things like that, and these giant structures. And people think that humans couldn't have done that, but you think, well, we had dinosaurs that were ginormous. Why were people not ginormous back then? Why were they small, primitive cave people? Like, maybe we did have land of the giants, and stuff. Stuff was bigger there because they were bigger people, as well. But also the gods and that, they've always been believed to be big and grand and all of that. But also I think, why can we believe that dinosaurs existed, but we can't believe there were big humans back then? But we've got basketball players, we've got people in sport now that are 8 foot and 9, and there are large people that exist. There was one actually that was in Wiltshire, that was one of, when talking about posts earlier, that was one of the posts that I put back in my group when I started it. There was like a giant person that lived in the air, and you think, why can't we get our head around stuff like that now? We need to be told by someone. There's got to be some officialism that people then will believe it, and then that's okay. But it's like, you can't discover that yourself, and why is that got to be hidden? Like, why? What's so wrong with the fact that people might have been giants? It's very strange. It's the narrative of things.
And it's interesting because I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but when we were looking at footage of like special forces in the deserts, they're always running around with their gun pointed upward at an angle. And your first thought is, oh, they're probably doing that so that they don't accidentally fire, friendly fire incident. I found out from somebody that it was because there were giants in the area. And so their guns were constantly trained upward
Was
because
that
of
Afghan by
giants.
any chance?
And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, well, if our military is running across these giants, I think that's something we ought to know. And it's like, and it's interesting that, how our minds will automatically see something and go, oh, yeah, that's so they don't do this or that. And it's like, that's the other thing I think we need to do is untrain our mind filters so that when we see something, we literally question it and stop creating, oh yeah, it's because of this, and forget about it.
Well, normalizing, if you like, things, isn't it? And also things that some people, it settles better with them to find sort of an explanation, even if it's absurd as well. Some people don't want to know, they're scared to know sort of reality, and they'll be happy with that, even if it's absurd. It's a bit like your Project Blue Book explanations, that settled with people, that certain things, swamp gas and stuff like that, and wild things loose and that, some people were happy with them stories because they're like, oh, thank God it wasn't that, but, you got to face up, reality isn't as it seems, really. That's it. Kandahar giants. Yeah. When you're talking about giants, Michael, was that Kandahar? Was that Afghan, or you just generally speaking? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of story going on with that.
And what amazes me too is I actually came across an article and I wanted to do an episode on it, but I never could get someone to come forward to validate it. Was a farmer in Nevada was plowing his land and came across, and I think this was like the 1800s, early 1900s, and came across red-haired giants, like literal bones and bodies of giants. And the Smithsonian Institute came in and took over the area, and nobody to this day knows how many were found, what's happened to them, because unfortunately our Smithsonian Institute is well known for coming in and taking over sites that they don't want people to know about and making the information disappear.
Wow. But that's what happens, isn't it? They try and get there before you, and they shut down people that are key witnesses or frighten them, and that's what happens. And that still happens now. That's why you still got things going on that people don't talk about now. Go back to the Penturk, that was recent. I've been in that area. It's super quiet, and there's hills, there's vantage points as well. And if that racket was going on with aircraft going around, you just thought there'd be more witnesses to that. Surely there is. And when Rendlesham, things like that as well, that went on for days before, might have even been a week before the first aircraft was seen. There's your RAF staff that are stagging on, doing night shift and that. And all the staff in that area would have been, or people especially that needed to know, would have been told there's this going on and this is on radar. You think, that's been 50 years, or is that more or less? And there might be people retired now, you think will finally come out and go, that's, but they still haven't come out and said what went on. And you think, God, they're past retirement age and stuff now. You kind of think things can come out in time, but actually they just try and bury them, fade away, really. And same thing happened with Roswell, really, with witnesses. There was a lot of documentaries of witnesses in the 90s and that, speaking out, and that was it, really. A lot of those people, they've got grandchildren that will be alive, but it's sort of time sort of fades things out. Things need awakening with researchers and people talking to get things back in conversation again. So it's such a shame that things, they get buried this way, and that's the way, like, our government, our society would like it, So. Yeah, I hope you find people that were involved in that map and that research as well, and things like that, because if you haven't seen that, nobody might not ever know that something like that existed, so yeah, put it on your groups and stuff and try and draw some. Remember any part of it at all? Did it look a bit like? The thing is, when you see stuff like that as well, when you see the real thing again. Like some people could put something like that on media or groups and say it's that, but you've seen it and what you're seeing again. And I've seen footage back in the day when when anyone could put anything they wanted on their VHS cameras up and that, and it used to have a heck of a lot of CGI fake on there, but there used to be some really good, what I thought looked like genuine UFO images on their footage. And there's one that James Fox keeps talking about when he's interviewed about amazing piece of footage that he's seen, that and he described it exactly like a piece of footage that I'd seen on there, and I thought I would know it when I see it. So when he finds that again, if he's ever able to find a copy, I would know if that's what I saw, because he described this footage of these I think they were teenagers driving along in the dark and then spotting a ship out the ship, but it sort of hovered over the vehicle, and I remember seeing the footage of something white that was rocking, the light was rocking like a bulb would swing in the car. I saw that footage and thought, wow, that's really frightening, like what they're going to do. And then they got down and like hid in the footwells and like left the camera running, but you couldn't see them in the frame, but you could hear them talking to each other, going, what the heck is that? What do we do? They tried to hide in the footwell, and then one of them got out, and then you see a bit of this like light, this craft, and then it cuts. And that made me think, oh, that's like fake, like somebody's done some, some really good like amateur filming. But it was so good, so genuine, the first bit of it. And I thought, oh, that's typical, they'll catch it and they'll cut it. But actually, when James Fox has been talking about it, he described that same thing. I thought, he's seen what I saw. He's seen it. Like, it wasn't just someone that privately owned it. Somebody put that on YouTube like years ago, like 10, 11 years ago, to get a reaction. You can't find it now, and you don't know how to describe it to find it, but you can't see that sort of stuff on YouTube anymore. Anyway, people used to upload old conferences and stuff like that. They might well be buried deep, but I just thought, actually, when it was a bit of a free-for-all, YouTube was quite good, because a lot of people put in footage of UFOs up and ghostly things and apparitions, and you think, oh, that looks really genuine, but they're gone. The algorithms out there and the way that YouTube's cleaning stuff up. Thank God these channels can still run, that people can still talk about them. But I just thought there was some real genuine looking stuff people just used to upload on this channel, on this platform, that look genuine, like real good apparitions and ghostly footage that people have captured and they put up for opinion, and you can't find them anymore. So that's a shame, and just hoping that I'm hoping that people still keep old VHSs or anything like that, because that's gone now, really. Once it's white, people don't keep it and they think that's safe now, it's out in public, but it's not, is it? Things get taken away like that.
Yeah.
And I just reading Andy's comment, I found loads of videos I downloaded from YouTube 2012, 15. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of rubbish people put up.
Yeah. Nicname, I'd love to keep talking and keep going, but we're at an hour and almost 35 minutes.
Wow.
And so if we get a chance, we'd definitely love to have you back on. It's been a real pleasure getting to talk with you and get to hear your stories and your background, because you're like one of those that I like to call the unsung heroes of the paranormal, because you're in the background. Not in the forefront like some of us, but we couldn't do what we do without people like you. So I wanted to shine a light on you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great to come on. It's been a long wait, hasn't it, really? We set this up like earlier on in the year, and it's taken a while to get here. But thanks everyone that's watched as well, and the chat. I'm glancing across at it. So thank you so much for joining as well and supporting the channel. Hope you
Yes,
have a good
and
sleep.
thank you for supporting our channel and Andy's channel and all the channels you do. And thank you for your Facebook group, which I've been putting the address to on the bottom periodically so people can
Join
go
in.
and find it.
Yeah, and post your stories as well. Put some footage on there and yeah, get it going again. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, UFO Joe. And Sai, thank you.
Matt, do you have anything before we sign?
No, I think that's a good time to probably
Yeah,
close up. And as you said, yeah, maybe one day we can, get Nicname back on again and talk about more stuff. But yeah, it's been really good.
thanks everybody, and hopefully, yeah, we can maybe have Kel on maybe next time then, and
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And
well enough.
When she's feeling better again.
Yeah. So thanks so much for your time, guys. Thanks for having me.
thank you. And to all our fans out there, wherever you are in the world, have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening. So bye-bye from us. And we'll see you on the next episode, which hopefully Kel will be back for. If not, we'll probably be graced with Matt again, which is always fun too. So
Yeah, it's always fun. Yeah, definitely.
Matt Barron is coming up next week, or next episode. So
Cool.
have a great one, everyone, and we will
guys.
see you all shortly.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.
Thank you for joining us at Paranormal Versus. Hope to see you on our next episode.